It's just now, for me, it's a wait and see game, but it's not a comfortable wait and see game when it's dealing with your health.
Frustration, confusion over the latest AstraZeneca guidelines. Health officials address some of the concerns. A new vision for what has been the downtown mission, the Center for the Homeless moving out, a media hub moving in. Some big boomers this morning, lightning, thunder, lots of action as we see a ship on the Detroit River. A low risk of thunderstorms right now. Nick Sirkovich brings us the details tonight. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. For weeks, it had been rumored to be in the works. Today, it was made official. Premier Ford shuffling his cabinet, bringing back into the fold the minister who jetted off for a tropical vacation during the lockdown. Now, while moving the minister responsible for long-term care homes, which saw thousands of deaths during the pandemic, to a new position. John Lancaster with a look at the changes.
A virtual swearing in for Premier Doug Ford's new cabinet less than 1 year before the election. Perhaps the most significant move, embattled long-term care minister Merrilee Fullerton is out. Long criticized for not doing enough to prevent the COVID-19 deaths of 4,000 residents and staff in long-term care homes, she's been punted to Minister of Children, Community and Social Services. A move swiftly panned by the opposition.
We now have another minister that utterly was a failure in her previous role, taking on another major portfolio for this government. I don't know if that restores some trust and confidence in this government at all.
Fullerton is replaced by Rod Phillips, the former finance minister who lost his job last December after taking a 2-week trip to the Caribbean, as Ontarians were asked to stay home during the ongoing pandemic.
And I want to thank each and every one of you.
And in a move to seemingly reflect Ontario's diverse communities ahead of next year's election, younger MPPs from more urban ridings are being promoted to higher profile roles. Dave Piccini, the rookie MPP for Northumberland Peterborough South, is the new Environment Minister. Milton MPP Parm Gill is now Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. Brampton South MPP Pradmeet Singh Sarkaria becomes President of the Treasury Board. Staying put, Education Minister Stephen Lecce. In his statement, at least one teachers' union called that a mistake. The Premier and Minister Lecce have a long history of ignoring and disrespecting education partners. The disregard is intentional, and it has unfortunately resulted in critical failures that continue to negatively affect students, educators, and other education workers across Ontario. Also keeping their portfolios, Health Minister Christine Elliott and Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy.
What we've seen today is a continuation of this government's agenda of big cuts and bad choices. And frankly, the people of Ontario deserve better.
The Premier didn't speak to reporters today about his cabinet shuffle. John Lancaster, CBC News, Toronto.
Frustration mounting 1 day after new guidelines unveiled by federal health officials telling provinces to stop administering the AstraZeneca vaccine. This after tens of thousands have already received both doses. With more, I'm joined live by CBC's Sanjay Maru. Sanjay, you spoke with two people locally who recently got their second dose of AstraZeneca. What are they saying today?
Chris, they're confused and unsettled. The National Advisory Committee now says AstraZeneca recipients should instead receive a second dose of an mRNA vaccine like the ones offered by Pfizer and Moderna. Originally, Canadians were told to take the first vaccine that was offered to them. For many, that was AstraZeneca. Then concerns arose about developing the risk of a rare condition that can lead to blood clots. From there, Ontario eventually phased out offering AstraZeneca for first doses back in May, but still allowed it for second doses. In total, more than 15,000 Canadians have received second doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine. I spoke with two of them today who say this latest recommendation has left them concerned.
It's a little too late for me. I already have the second dose, so it's just a waiting game. Had I known that before last week, I probably would have changed what I would have done. I'll just be glad when this is over with, as everybody else. But I don't feel any different than how I felt before, but I'm uneasy with the whole process that's gone on and the messaging that's gone on. So it's just now, for me, it's a wait and see game, but it's not a comfortable wait and see game when it's dealing with your health.
we're so with the science and we're so with following the rules, the masking and all of that. But then I went, like, the government's not helping themselves with vaccine hesitancy whatsoever. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, if I live through it to have another pandemic, I don't think I'll take the first dose of whatever they're offering.
And Chris, I should note that even with the advisory committee's recommendation in Ontario, if you still want AstraZeneca as your second dose, you can still get it at a pharmacy or through primary care. And health officials also stress if you had AstraZeneca as your first dose, it's safe to mix and get Moderna or Pfizer for your second.
So if you're like Ed or Wayne, like we heard from moments ago, you already got your second dose of AstraZeneca, where does this leave you?
Chris, according to health officials, those people shouldn't have to worry. The National Advisory Committee says people who already have had 2 doses of AstraZeneca can, quote, rest assured that the vaccine provides good protection against infection. Health officials also say for people in that boat, they do not need to panic.
All of the vaccines work. At this point, if you can get an mRNA vaccine, get the mRNA vaccine. But if you've gotten 2 doses of AstraZeneca, you are well protected. I don't think you're going to experience any sort of issues with travel. It's a good vaccine and it's approved around the world. And really, just get your second dose.
There are also questions about how getting an AstraZeneca shot might affect travel. We've heard of some U.S. venues only allowing people to attend certain public events if they've been fully vaccinated with an FDA-approved product like Pfizer-BioNTech, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson. AstraZeneca not included in that list. But today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says his government is working with international partners on this to make sure those who got AstraZeneca are not disadvantaged when they travel abroad. Chris.
And Prime Minister, one person who got AstraZeneca as well. Thanks for this, Sanjay. CBC Sanjay Mari live tonight. Now, as the region reports an increase of just 4 cases of COVID-19 today, tens of thousands are about to become eligible to book their second shot. Now, if you were first vaccinated up to May 9th in Windsor, Essex, you can book your second shot starting tomorrow at 8 a.m. That's for those who got an mRNA shot the first time. That's sooner than the province's schedule. Those who had AstraZeneca the first time are also eligible for this if they like a different vaccine for their second dose. That's if 8 weeks have passed since their first. The health unit's asking for patience if you can't book an appointment right away. Now there's a new vaccination clinic at Devonshire Mall set to open on Monday. It will be where Sears used to be. This as the downtown vaccination clinic at Windsor Hall closes today. So anyone with a scheduled vaccination for there will be going to Devonshire instead starting next week. Officials with Windsor Regional Hospital say the new location will be able to handle a greater volume of people.
All the other vaccination centers in Windsor, Essex will maintain their current operations until further notice. But at this location, we'll be able to do up to 4,000 vaccines per day within an 8-hour period, and obviously have a greater capability to really ramp up and provide even more vaccinations with extended hours. So we're really excited to be able to do that and get our vaccinations out quicker in Windsor, Essex. We actually will be recording the time that they arrive so we know when they're going to be able to be cleared to leave.
Only people with appointments will be given a shot. The vaccination clinic at St. Clair College will remain open until everyone with appointments booked there are switched to the mall location. If you have an appointment for the sportsplex, keep your slot until the hospital contacts you to change it. The college location is expected to stay open until July 21st, unless they can switch the bookings over to the mall location sooner than that. We have an update on a developing story out of Wheatley where a gas leak has forced dozens out of their homes for weeks. The municipality of Chatham-Kent is preparing to lift the state of emergency and evacuation order after a gas leak was reported June 2nd. Since then, residents have been forced out of their homes, businesses forced to close as officials try to identify the source. They've been doing gas monitoring every 15 minutes. The mayor says no hydrogen sulfide gas has been detected at the site since June 4th. Officials say the absence of gas means there's no reason to continue the state of emergency, though their news release does not identify whether the source was ever confirmed, but officials say those details should be available tomorrow. Now, if you're directly impacted, here's what you need to know. The evacuation order will lift as early as noon tomorrow. Emergency personnel will be available to accompany residents and business owners to their properties to perform gas monitoring if requested. The municipality will hold a virtual hall meeting over Zoom tomorrow at 11 a.m. They'll answer any questions, and a resource center will be established at the Wheatley Arena Saturday from noon to 3 p.m. as well. And travel restrictions at Canada's borders with the U.S. will remain in place until July 21st. Public Safety Minister Bill Blair says both countries agreed to extend the measures against non-essential travel, but with COVID-19 cases trending down and vaccination rates climbing, there's a lot of political pressure to relax those restrictions. Justin Trudeau says 75% of Canadians need at least one dose before that can happen. That number currently at 65%. A local immigration lawyer, however, believes it's already safe enough.
And I think it's time to really start thinking about smart restrictions, lifting of restrictions based on smart science and technology, and the fact that we are accelerating our vaccination rates.
The CBC has also learned the federal government is working to roll out the first phase of a federal vaccination certification plan. That should start next month. It means if you're traveling abroad on your way home, you can upload proof of vaccination into an app before you go through customs. That'll pave the way for easing of travel restrictions. Public Safety Minister Bill Blair saying that the federal government will provide details on Monday of plans to let fully vaccinated Canadians enter the country. The old church that currently houses the downtown mission will soon become a new hub for media projects in the core of Windsor. The folks behind it will soon renovate and reimagine that historic building, but it also means the mission is up against the clock to find a new permanent location. Jacob Barker has more.
It will soon be lights, camera, action in downtown Windsor. A new media arts center will turn this part of town into a place for those wanting to build their media skills. $2.1 million of government funds are being given to the Windsor Center for Film, Digital Media, and the Creative Arts to do just that.
Regionally, film will connect with many different industries, people who are actors, graphic designers, web designers, set builders, accountants, lawyers. It crosses most industries, even manufacturing, because people will be making parts for sets.
It also hopes to attract large film projects to the region.
We'll have office space, we'll have post and pre-production spaces. They'll go out and shoot by day and come back by night and check their film in our equipment rooms.
And the block itself here will be getting a big facelift. It looks like this today, but in a couple of years it should look something like this.
It's going to be a big job, so we'll be quite a while working on this, but we're hoping to have some spaces available by next spring.
The mission will hand the keys over to the new owners next month, but will be allowed to keep using the basement to serve food until next summer. In terms of shelter, those without homes are still able to access the mission's other site, but the race is on to get into a new location, preferably a development on McDougall and Shepherd.
Still trying to get through the process with the city. It's an encumbersome process. It's a process that consultants tell me takes time, and so we're being as patient as we possibly can be. It's taking longer than it needs to, in my opinion.
A less preferred choice is also an existing structure belonging to the mission at Elliott and Olette, simpler because they already own it.
McDougall and Shepherd has a lot of great attributes, and that's where we're hoping to go. But it's important for me to tell the story that if that doesn't happen in the next few months, we're going to have to give up that spot and continue on with the Olette campus.
But the clock is ticking for the mission. Phase 1 of the new media center is set to begin in July. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
A migrant workers advocacy group says a Guatemalan temporary worker has died. Justice for Migrant Workers says the worker died while completing his mandatory quarantine at a hotel in Sarnia. They say he was a father of 2. When asked about the death, Lambton Public Health would only say that it reported a COVID-19 related death of an individual in their 30s, but could not share any other details. The Justice Group says at least 5 migrant workers across Ontario have died during quarantine this year. They want a coroner's investigation for each worker's death.
What are the health supports that workers are receiving during the quarantine period? Why are so many workers dying? What are the underlying causes that are leading to these fatalities that are happening in communities across Ontario and as well as across Canada? We should be concerned how marginalized workers are being treated, But also, and more critically than us, is the families across the world. They're suffering and they're in pain and they're devastated by the loss of their breadwinner.
A nonprofit that's helped migrant workers in Windsor, Essex for nearly a decade continues traditions this weekend with the annual Mother's and Father's Day dinner. They'll hand out 1,000 meals to people working in the area with volunteers from all over, saying many are uniform members. Joan Gray organizes the event. She says workers continue to be stressed by the pandemic, being so far from home. She hopes that the community understands what these workers do and how they support the region. Now, we all know that Windsor has some of the coolest cars on the street, but you might have spotted something pretty unique driving around: the Smile Wagon. It's one of a handful operating in Canada where you can get dental work done inside of a Sprinter van.
Hi, my name's Navjeet Gill and welcome to Smile Wagon. Smile Wagon is a very convenient, comfortable dental hygiene clinic that brings services right to your front door. Working in a dental office, yes, it's sometimes the accessibility, the lack of time that people have with working, having young children, busy families, just being able to have that time to come into a dental office is very difficult. So that's where Smile Wagon was sort of born. I offer cleanings, whitening, desensitizing, any preventative dental hygiene services.
We didn't know what to expect at first, like you're going to a dentist in a van, so it was, but it really awesome, blew our minds.
She really impressed us. All parents with young children, just being able to save that time in the waiting rooms for them, because I find like sometimes we're so busy, we put things on the side burner and we forget about how important our oral hygiene is. I get a lot of smiles, some waves, definitely kind of like, what's going on in there?
My name is Jackson Foster, and I am 9 years old.
When you had to go to the office, what was that like for you?
It was all right, but I was still iffy about it, and I wasn't too excited. But when the Smile Wagon comes, it's real fun.
Sometimes it's on a daily basis when you see an individual that says, you know what, I've been so scared to go to the dental office, that just having you come out to me has made me feel a little bit more relaxed because I'm still at home. I'm not far away from my comfort zone. Definitely not more expensive than going to the dental office. We do offer direct billings, and definitely I try to offer, if anyone does not have dental hygiene coverage, try to offer a discounted rate so that everyone's oral hygiene is being taken care of.
Now it's so happy when you get to know that, like, hey, the Smile Wagon's coming over here today. You're like, oh yay, it's amazing, and it's so nice. It's unbelievable how they drive up to you.
Is that there a walleye or a pickerel? The fishing community split, so we go deep into the great debate. That's coming up right after the break. It's been an ongoing debate in the fishing community for years. Is it a walleye or a pickerel fish? So today, on National Go Fishing Day, we cast the question to find out what local anglers have to say when reeling in one of these beauties.
And I'm actually fine, if people want to call them pickerel, that's cool, that's great. I mean, it's still the same fish, it doesn't change that it's, the fish is the same. So certainly it's not something I'd ever, get into a heated argument about, but it's not, the name walleye is not an American name. It's just what they're called. That's their name.
So do you call it walleye or do you call it pickerel?
Walleye. Americans call them walleye. Most Canadians call them pickerel.
No, it's the same fish. There's two different names, huh?
Yeah, they're the same fish. They're the same breed. Yeah. As far as I've ever known, I don't know any difference between them. It's just the name. Some places call them walleye. Some call them pickerel.
I grew up on a border city, and we've been calling them walleye my whole life. We do know walleye is an American term, but there actually there is a difference between pickerel and walleye. Pickerel is from the pike family. He actually looks like a more of a pike than a pickerel.
Well, I think they call it walleye because the eyes are so huge, and then the people over here just call it pickerel because that's something different from the Americans.
I think because of the nose, the shape of the mouth, the fins, the color, the spots, I think that makes a big difference.
The walleye, pickerel, whatever you call them, are the best eating fish, and so I'm good with whatever you call them, just as long as I'm there for dinner.
We bring Nick Sirkovich in now. Nick, you a big fisher?
I was afraid you'd ask that.
I know, right?
I have my very limited knowledge of fish runs from about goldfish to goldfish.
Goldfish to goldfish.
Yeah,
the beta fish from university that would swim around and get angry at the other beta fish. I remember that one. Yeah, I call most of them the one that got away.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Exactly. So, lots of differences with the States too. For example, in the States, they call it sleet. Here we call it ice pellets. We're not talking about ice pellets now, by the way, but there are weather terms that vary across the border as well. Anyway, nothing like that right now. We're looking at warm temperatures, 27 degrees down in Windsor. With the Humidex, though, feels a lot warmer, feels like 35. We did trigger off some showers and thunderstorms earlier today. Seeing a bit of a break from this right now. Maybe a few spotty showers into the evening, but for the most part, it's done. We're looking at rain showers that kind of stretch further toward the northeast. They might tap into sort of the London, Kitchener-Waterloo area. But for Windsor, I think by and large tonight it should stay dry, although a few spotty showers are possible. Into tomorrow morning, we get a bit of a break there from the rainfall. As we head into the later morning, afternoon hours, though, closer to about noon, we're looking at thunder showers moving through the region. And that basically carries on into the evening. Then it tapers off. And then we've got sort of a break from that into Sunday. And then Sunday later afternoon. So closer to about 7, 8 p.m., another round of rain and thunderstorms moving through the region with another system that pushes through. Tonight, we're looking at temperatures down about 16 degrees. Fog patches developing through the overnight as well as winds begin to subside. Moving into tomorrow, we've got highs to about 29 degrees. Humidex values tomorrow taking us up to the 35 range. And again, closer to about the noon hour, thunder showers pushing through, then scattered showers in behind it. So a little bit of a wet one tomorrow, especially down in the Windsor area. As we move into Sunday, which is Father's Day, it's the first day of summer as well. We've got temperatures at 31. Evening rain showers moving through. They kind of clear out into Monday. And fairly big drop in temperatures and humidity as we get to Tuesday. The reward, though, is the sunshine. Chris.
No, absolutely. And I got, Nick, if you remember last year, you did this to me. Whenever I went camping, you found rain in the forecast. Yeah?
Yeah.
Tuesday's looking nice. That's my first day off.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
Yeah,
well, there you go. We'll work on that.
Much appreciated. Thanks. Have a good weekend, eh?
Yeah.
Chinese astronauts are in space. We do a check-in next. 3 Chinese astronauts are settling into their new digs. The astronauts will be staying in space for 3 months, working on building China's space station. It's the country's first manned mission to space in nearly 5 years. The astronauts arrived yesterday. They've already established a Wi-Fi service. The rest of the week will be spent setting up the basics of daily life, living, cooking, and sanitation facilities. And if you want to talk about weaving a web, that white stuff there, billowing in the breeze, is actually the work of thousands of spiders. Heavy rain and flooding hit Australia's Victoria State this week, and the spiders moved to higher ground, spinning giant cobwebs to shelter from the damp, creating what Katerina Georgieva calls a beautiful blanket over the landscape. I call it pretty horrific. That's it for CBC Windsor News. We are going to leave you tonight with something Peter Duck shot for us earlier today, a kind of traffic jam we're all familiar with.